Hi, and welcome to Lights of the Round Table. My name is Susanna, and it is my pleasure and honor to have with us a quite special guest. They were guerrilla fighters once upon a time. They overthrew their dictatorship government, became Prime Minister of Ethiopia, that's Tamrat Layne, and his beautiful wife, Mulu. And now they are changing the lives of many in their country, transforming the lives of widows and orphans in Ethiopia through their charity organization. It is my pleasure and honor to have both Mulu and former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Tamrat Layne. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure for us too to be with you.
Thank you. Tamrat, is that how you pronounce your name, Tamrat?
Yes.
Okay, good. How did you, I guess let's start, how did you both become freedom fighters, guerrilla fighters? How did you
Yes.
become, I mean, it's a very endearing story, one that has transformation. I mean, you were in prison in solitary confinement you were sentenced for 18 years, I believe. So how did you both become guerrilla fighters?
Well, that goes all the way back to the 1970s, where the student movement, democratic student movement for reform, was there in Ethiopia for many years. In fact, Ethiopia was one of the countries at the time, the 1970s, where student movements were radical. And as a student, I was also involved in that movement. So the movement was first in against the emperor. We had a king who ruled for many years. And then later on, through a coup d'etat, a military organization, a military dictatorship established in Ethiopia. And we continued still as students against that dictatorship government. And I was in the university at the time. Mulu was in high school. So we were in different places at the time, but we were both involved in that movement against that government. And a political party was formed in 1975 for the first time in the country, and I became a member of that political party. And we continued our political movement against that military dictatorship. But then through time, the government started killing invariably and indiscriminately, especially young people. And we couldn't continue our struggle in the cities. So we resolved that we have to change our strategies towards starting a guerrilla warfare. That's how it started. And very few of us went to the mountains of Ethiopia, started guerrilla warfare, very mobile one at first for several years. And then after about 3 or 4 years, Mulu joined us from her birth city, birth town. She quit her high school and joined us. I quit my university, and that's how the guerrilla movement started and continued for 15 years after that, fighting against the military government.
Yeah, I was reading through your biography a little bit, and I saw a few podcasts. I mean, you were basically, it was a group of of students, you and your friends, basically 5 people, and through the years, you amounted to create a guerrilla movement of over 150,000 souls fighting
Yes.
for the freedom of Ethiopia. It's quite an incredible accomplishment, if I may say. How did you do that? I mean, how did you persuade so many people to join your movement?
Well, the main reason is because military dictatorship government was against everybody, especially against the farmers, the peasants in the rural areas, against the teachers, the students, against the government, public service workers. Even from the military, many defected and joined us uh, throughout the struggle. So the main reason was that we had the support from the people, from the overwhelming, and because the government had, was very oppressive and tyrannic um, at the time. So people wanted that government to be toppled down, and they stood beside us. That's the main reason. Of course, the second one is our political programs, our aim, our goals were against that government, and we were accepted by the people because we had policies that the people wanted at the time. Of course, we were communists at the time, but our communism was not functional when we were in guerrilla fighting. Our goal was simply to get rid of that military government, and the people wanted that.
Mulu, what is it exactly that attracted you to become a guerrilla fighter? What was it that Ethiopians needed that wanted to overthrow their own government?
As Tamrat said, the government was really bad. It was a military, and they were killing the youngsters. They displaced the people forcibly, and people were not happy. And as a young girl at that time, I was not happy too. And people were just very sad, poor, just to see the people suffering that way. For many youngsters, that was a reason to go to the mountains of Ethiopia to fight to the government. That's why one thing, the youngsters love their country. We love our nation. And we see the struggles, the poverty, and the bad government. Those things are just encouraging, pushing for the youngsters to do something. We have to do something. We have to find a solution. The cause is to bring democracy, prosperity in the nation. We know our nation is poor at that time, still poor. That's the reason. We fought for good, for democracy, for good for that nation, for Ethiopia.
One of the challenges I think that compared to any other nation in the world that probably people don't quite comprehend is that Ethiopia, and I was looking a little bit, you have a lot of languages, there is a lot of tribes, and
Yes.
it's still amazing how you were able to negotiate all these different tribes, ethnics, backgrounds, cultures, and beliefs in joining you. Can you give a perspective out there to the viewer, how diverse your country, how richly diverse is your country?
Ethiopia is a very diverse country in different ways, culturally, ethnically, even colors, different ones. We have more than 85 different tribal groups. Of course, some of them are very small in number, but all of them have their own language. And we are also diversified in religious faith. We have Muslims, we have Orthodox Coptic Christians, we have Catholics, we have Protestants, and so on. And culturally, of course, so diversified as it is the ethnic and religious one. And Ethiopia is a very ancient country, thousands of years of civilization. In fact, even in the Bible, Ethiopia is mentioned many times. And during the Babylonians, during the Egyptian, during the Assyrian civilizations, the Ethiopian civilization was, at that time, one of those. Ethiopia has its own alphabet that many of the people in the world don't know. We have our own alphabet. We have our own script. Very religious country, very traditional and civilized country. And yet, Ethiopia is one of the poorest. That was one of the things that we were in a dilemma, that we were asking, why are we so poor while we have all these historical, traditional, and religious, thousands of years backgrounds. And that was one of the things, as Mulu earlier said, that the youngsters would, get to struggle and fight back against governments. And as much as we have that long history and civilization, we never had a democratic, a liberty, freedom, progress kind of government, progressive kind of government. We never had that throughout our history. Despite all that, though, for example, during First and Second World Wars, the Italians invaded Ethiopia twice at least. And when colonizers, Italians, also other colonizers come, the people rose as one person and fought back. And Ethiopia became one of, in fact, the only country that's not colonized by any colony.
Yeah.
It's one of the countries, the few countries that the first Christianity religion was, established. It was also a country that the Jewish faith also was there. Then one of the first countries, in fact, next to Saudi Arabia itself, where Islam was, started. Next to that, Ethiopia is one of the first countries where also Islam was introduced. So it's a juncture of, so to say, several religions, several ethnic groups, several cultures, and civilization.
Yeah, in fact, I think there's a legend says that in Ethiopia resides the cross of Jesus Christ. It was a gift to the kings of Ethiopia. That's what it says. I don't know if that's true, but it is a fascinating country. And also from what I understood, and I read quickly, what is that it has the most mountains, or more than half of the mountains of the continent of Africa actually are in Ethiopia. So I could imagine the terrain. But going back to your story, and just having a small group of students create a guerrilla cells to become a bigger one and be part of that political movement and actually be a political movement. How did you get it funded? How such a impoverished, I mean, you came through a lot of feet. How did you ever got yourself funded in order to pull through your ideologies at that time? Because also the ideologies, we're talking back in the 1970s, I believe,
Yes.
right? And at that
Yes.
time, I know that also, you have the Sandinistas, you have a whole bunch in the 70s, 80s. You have Latin America also with communistic ideologies. Africa was also not only Ethiopia, but other African countries. And then, of course, 1991, later on, communist Russia falls down. So anyways, but there was a rise in communism during that era. But how did you get it funded?
Yeah, actually, it was a communist era, as you said, and that had been impacted us to be communists too. We started with a vision of changing Ethiopia, as Mulu earlier said, but the way to change Ethiopia we take as an ideology is from communism. And that was from Africa, Latin America, as you mentioned, also Asia. Asia was also that. So that's how we became communists. And we studied, of course, the ideology, and we became communists. We embraced it. Our source of fund when we were in guerrilla movements was wholly from the people in two ways. One, our members, both in cities and also in the rural areas. Also our members in America, here in America, in Europe, and in Middle East. We had members of the political party. And they contribute. Members from the cities, the Ethiopian cities, also contribute. That was our main source, especially the source from America and Europe and Middle East members was a lot. The second one is the more we stayed in the guerrilla fighting, we started having, we call it free areas. Free areas are areas in Ethiopia that we control, almost 100% control under our administration and our military movement. In those areas, we establish the people's administration, popular administration by people's choosing or electing their own administrators and establishing their own administrations in different levels, at different levels and different ways. And at some point, we started, after several years, we even started from administrative taxation system, while we still didn't yet, take the whole power, but part of the country was under our control. And in those areas, we started government administration, so to say, with a taxation system from the people. And other sources of income for us were, and after several years, when we become stronger and larger in army and so on, and after we started a conventional warfare, we also did trading system of the government. So from different kinds of tradings. And from those tradings, we used to get income in different ways. But we needed the fund mainly for food, for clothings and things like that. But our weapons, 100%, almost 100%, were from the government, captured through wars, battles, and so on. In fact, we had, except fighter jets and airplanes and those kinds of things, we had all kinds of weapons. Even tanks captured from the government army. Heavy artilleries, heavy weapons, all sorts of heavy artilleries we had. So, and it took us more than 6 or 7 years to transition from the guerrilla form of fighting towards a conventional, a regular army type warfare.
Wow. Any international help from any other government, or was this just people driven by the support of your own people overseas? What I mean, yeah.
No international government support in terms of weapon or money. But for example, we had offices here in the United States. We had offices in Europe. We had offices in Middle East countries. Not official, but they know. They allow us to have those offices, and they allow us to fundraise, here. We had also friends, American friends, European friends who helped us in raising funds and so on. Except that, and also some charity organizations, of course, not for us, but for the people that we control, the people who live in the free areas, in the liberated areas, we call them. So several international charity organizations were supporting, especially food aids, especially whenever there is a drought. We allow them to come and aid the people, support the people in food aid. These were the mechanisms that we used to.
Mulu, what were you doing? What were you doing during this time? Were you already met? Have you already met Tamrat? What was your role during these years?
We met in the mountain, yes. He went from Addis, from the capital, to the mountain. I was in another place called Sakota, a small town. We met in the mountain, and when you are a freedom fighter, you assign to cover one work, one job. And I was doing in the printing department, in another department also. Another thing I want to add, what Tamrat said about the food. Where do you get the food to feed this all military? I think the main source is the people, the farmers. The farmers took the freedom fighters like their family members. When we are hungry, we go to the farmer's house and they feed us. They give us anything they have. They are willing to share. We know that they are poor, but they love the freedom fighters. They support the cause. Sometimes they were just amazing. Okay, these youngsters, they are ready to pay their life for their nation. They say for them, and they give us everything. They give us what they have. And the people, the farmers, carried the freedom fighter movement in any ways. And their love just tells you to do more, to fight for that nation, to fight for that loving people. The people is just the main resource. I know Tamrat mentioned other resources also, but I want to focus on the people. So that's why.
How did you? And I want to move all forward because I know that you have a beautiful charity organization going on who is actually giving back to your people, which is a great gift, and is well respected. But let's talk about you coming to power as a prime minister. Tamrat, your political party is elected, and you are there with your best friend. He becomes the president, and you become the prime minister. and what kind of reforms were you doing? And you were also studying other things. You started to do a master's degree, and I think you were starting to discover other ways that you could help your people. Other than through communism, you were discovering probably there were other. I think you were doing an MBA, so I think you got more on that capitalist kind of ideology too. So it was you were going through some growth, and growth.
Yes.
Yeah.
We took power in 1991, defeating the government, and took power and started building the country as we wished to do, in a socialist way. And but we were not saying that officially. We are not saying we are communists. We are not saying we are socialists. But the policies were that. And but after a few years, I started questioning our own ways and policies. And during the period that I started questioning, I took that MBA course in economic management, and that also gave me gave to my mind some kind of shift, that we have to change policies. And then I was the second person in the government, and my friend was the first one, the president. And I even published a book that spells out how we have to change our policies, basically to a free market economy. That was it. But that brought a problem among us. And after 5 years, he, the president, and also others conspired against me, and they took me to jail. They put me to jail without even due process of law. And they didn't, especially the president and also his cliques, they didn't want me to continue. And an election was coming in front of us, and they didn't want me to be there. And also they didn't want this policy, the new policy, to be the policy of the government. Of course, later on, after they imprisoned me and after they put me to jail, they reformed some of the policies, not all of it, but some of the policies. And they introduced capitalist ways of doing things. And the economy, of course, was also better because of that reform. But I was in jail at the time. And that's how it happened. Then the 1989-90, of course, the communist bloc, as you know, disintegrated. And it was right at that time that we took power. That was why we didn't call ourselves officially socialists or communists. But anyways, then without even due process of law, of course, with a kangaroo court, even against the constitution of the country, against the law of the country, there was a special court, they called it a kangaroo court. And I was not allowed to defend even myself. Then they sentenced me to 18 years.
What about the people? Because you were loved. You and Mulu were loved. They respected you.
Yes.
Wasn't there opposition from the people?
There was. There was several corners of the people. There were opposition from the people where we started our guerrilla warfare, because they know us very well, they love us, and they were not convinced what the government was saying against me, because the government was saying that I abused power, I embezzled money, and so on. And the people were saying, no, we don't believe that. This is a political plot, they were saying. And they even submitted petitions. They do petitions, several petitions, and submitted to the government, the president, to release me. There were also oppositions from the army. The army was not convinced. And they were asking, even the army was asking, let him come physically to us and we will ask him. And he will tell us if what you are saying is right or not. That was what they were saying. But then the president and his clique, they were not, they were not willing to get me a forum in front of the army or in front of even the people. They arrested me, and then I was in solitary confinement right from the first day. And I was not allowed to see people, or people were not allowed to see me, ask me, visit me, anything. Even Mulu, my wife and our children were not allowed to visit me.
Mulu.
And all the way in solitary confinement. And they said we sentenced 18 years. And they put me to a solitary confinement, continued in that.
Yeah, and you were beaten,
I was
harassed.
beaten, tortured several
yeah.
times. And I was handcuffed most of the times. Sometimes my hands, sometimes my feet, sometimes both. In fact, I went on, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a hunger strike because of that.
Yeah.
Just to protest. Yeah.
Mulu, what about you? What were you doing? I mean, here you are, you find yourself, I believe you already have 2 children, youngsters. You see that the power of the people, the government is not responding to those petitions. What are you doing? How were you living these times?
Oh my God, it was a tough time for me and for the kids. At that time, we had our 2 kids. The first one was only 4. The second one, only 1 month when they arrested him. I didn't expect that kind of really problem in our life. Okay, why don't you have a heart for the little ones? They didn't care really. They didn't care for me. They didn't care. They arrested him, and before they do anything, before they took the case to the court, they start saying bad things, the government medias. It was sad, really, not only for me, in general, for our family. It was hard. As a mom, and I have a new baby, it was stressful. It was very hard, really. They kicked us from the house that we were living. They did a crazy stuff, really, I didn't expect. As a government, they are leading a nation, a big nation with a big population, really. Ethiopia is a respected nation. But why do you harass a family? I was part of them. I did my part. I went to the bush with them. I'm a friend. I'm a comrade to those people. They arrested him and they harassed his family, and it was hard as a mom, as a wife, and as a freedom fighter, as a part of that government. I felt just a betrayal, and I was an angry woman. Really, I was very sad. I was broken. Yeah,
I
tough
bet.
time.
I bet it was tough.
Yeah.
How long when did you decide to leave, Mulu? How long from, he got imprisoned. Obviously,
Yes.
you're having hope that he'll come out. The president says, no, not at all. So.
No, they were, I don't know, they were kind of evil, really, I can't say that. And I didn't expect good things from them. I didn't, because I saw it on my own hand, on my own eyes, how they arrested him, how they treated us. And after that, they didn't leave me alone to live in the country, to raise my kids. It was hard. They were following me everywhere. There is no peace in that nation for me. I started just becoming kind of angry, mad. Even for my kids, that was not safe. And I stayed for 3 years after that, and I decided to leave. And I left home and became a refugee in Kenya. And that was staying in Kenya with 2 small kids. That was the hardest time in my life also. Tough time, really, for my kids, for myself. We were not safe. We were not safe in Ethiopia. We were not safe in refugee camp. We passed through many painful nights, painful years.
So how did you leave Kenya? You're there as a refugee, you're seeing the worst. It's worse than a slum, I assume. Violence. They have their own issues, famine, even though that you weren't a refugee. I'm sure that there were a lot of malaria, all sorts of things. How did you get yourself out of that?
After 3 years staying, the American embassy processed our case. The UNHCR took our case to American embassy in Nairobi. And the US embassy accepted us as a refugee, and they processed our case, and they sent us to Denver, Colorado. That's how we came in 2003. And here, Lutheran Family Service, they were our sponsors. That was a blessing, really. When we come, somebody was here to receive us and to show us everything, to help us what we need at the moment. Yeah, that's how we came to America.
So there you are by yourself with the support of the Lutheran community to help you through and restart your life.
Yes.
So, Tamrat, in the meantime, you tried to commit suicide several times throughout the years. You were sentenced 18 years. No way that you thought that you were expecting someday your execution day would come. That day never came. You were atheist.
Yeah.
And somehow you were atheist, and somehow you started exploring various religious faiths during your confinement. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. It was the hardest time for me to not only being jailed, but also to be separated from my family and no hope at all. And I was waiting for somebody coming and shooting me there in prison, because I knew many things happened with prisoners, and I didn't have any hope of coming out or things like that. So because everything was dark, I tried suicide, to commit suicide twice, by cutting veins with a broken glass while I was in prison. But I failed somehow. And I was an atheist when I was in prison. So for 5 years, I was asking why I still existed, and what's the point of having more years, more of living there, things like that. So, but after some time, I started exploring if there is anything that gives hope. It was not about religion as such per se, but it was something, if there is, that may give some kind of hope. But the only hope, if there was one for me, was our family, our children, my wife, those were my only hope, if there was one, that I would be existing at the time. There was no other point of existing. There was no goal, or there was no other aim. There was no other purpose of living in that prison cell. The only purpose that I had was, can I see my children again? Can I see my wife again? And can I see my family again? That was the only thing. And even that had no guarantee, because every time I was tortured and beaten, and I was, as I said earlier, waiting for to be killed. So 5 years lapsed that way, angry, disappointed, disgruntled, and everything else, hopeless, no way out. And then after 5 years, something miraculous happened in that prison cell, and I met Jesus. He appeared in light in the middle of the night, in a form of light, and he said, "I'm Jesus. Believe in me and follow me. If you believe in me and follow me, I am the only one who can give you a new life," he said. And of course, at first, I didn't know who this Jesus was, because I had no experience at all before that. I was a communist and an atheist. I didn't believe in any kind of supernatural force. And but I pursued asking, who is this thing? And what is happening to me, kind of thing. So he came back for the second time, and he said the same thing. And he also said, "I will get you out of this place and send you to the world, and you will be my you'll be my you'll testify of me." So I said, this thing must be real after that. And there was this nurse whom I asked her to give me something to read, and after a few days, she brought me a Bible. So I started studying the Bible there. 7 more years studying the Bible and also other books. So I started following him, become a believer from atheist. And when I came out after 12 years, I became his follower.
What changed suddenly from an 18-year sentence to a 12-year sentence?
So nobody was expecting for me to get out or to be released, and it was a surprise for most people. But the prison chief called me one Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon, and he told me, he gave me a release paper signed by the very person who put me to jail, the president. And by then he became prime minister. He changed the system, and he was prime minister. And he gave me that release paper, and he said, "Get prepared for tomorrow, and you'll get out from here."
Wow.
So
can you go back for a moment, though? You had an anecdote that you changed during your stay. You changed as a person. You were angry, and through the Bible, you open up your heart and you start understanding what love was all about. And so there was a change in you that even the guards, one of the guards one day did a favor, brought you a surprise, which was a phone so you could try and get in touch with your wife. Could you narrate that for us, that beautiful story?
Yes, I mean, that point was a transformative point for my life, starting from my mind and my heart. After I met Jesus and started studying the Bible and start praying and so on, it changed me wholly. First, from my mind, meaning that it started changing me, my worldview, my perspective, how to see things, how to see people, even how to see the people who jailed me. And I was angry. I was a kind of person who always think of how to take revenge against the president and also others. But then, after I met Jesus and when my mind changed, I started forgiving them. And I even started praying for them. And the whole thing changed in my heart. And I was never, again, angry and all those things gone. I even in my day-to-day life and day-to-day routine in that prison cell, a change came in me, how to do it, prayer, reading, except one thing, meaning missing my children, missing my wife. Other things became really easy, so to say. So there was a total transformation inside out, I can say. And I also forgave. While I was in prison, I forgave the president, I forgave the others, all the people who did bad, who hurt me. And I started living a life of forgiveness after that. So that was like, it's commonly said as born again. That was really a moment of born again. I was something different before that, and I became something else after I met Jesus and I started following him. So that was the benchmark in my life, so to say, that I was changed from somebody to somebody else.
But Mulu, that happened to you. So the guard gives you this phone one day and says, I found the phone number, call your wife. Somehow he was able and gave you 30 minutes to talk to Mulu after so
Yes.
many years. And in that conversation, something magical happened. Apparently, Mulu had found Jesus too.
Yes, what happened was that there were 3 police guards from the 9 that were assigned for me, who became also believers in Jesus because of me. And one of them brought me a cell phone one day and a number, and he gave it to me. And he said, I gave you 30 minutes. This is a number of Mulu in Kenya in refugee camp, so you can call her. And I will come back after 30 minutes and take the cell phone and he was not allowed to give me that. So had it been, had it been discovered that he gave me that cell phone, he was most probably would be jailed too. So I called Mulu and I told her what happened to my life, meeting Jesus and my life changing and so on. She heard that. And she asked me the date. And when I told her, she said, exactly on those days, Jesus also was with me in the refugee camp with me. And now I am also a believer of Jesus, she said. So
Mulu,
Jesus
did he
was
appear?
with us at the same time in Ethiopia and also in Nairobi. He was with us.
So I guess, Mulu, did Jesus appear to you? Because I believe Tamrat had 3 apparitions in 3 consecutive nights. How about you? Did you have those apparitions too?
It's not the same way. It's in different way, but it's three times, 3 times. And the last one, the first night, it was with light. Second one, clear dream. The third one was words he spoke to me in my language, in Amharic. Our language called, the language I speak is Amharic, and he told me to pray with a lady. She was a refugee from Congo. She was a believer. He told me to pray with Mama Sarah. We call her Mama Sarah. At that time, just I wake up, okay, something is going on in my life, and I have to go and tell to Mama Sarah. That's how I told her, and she starts praising the Lord. I said, what's going on, Mama Sarah? This is my third time. What's going on in my life? And she told me, Mulu, the Lord wants you to know him. Let's pray. And we prayed. I don't know what happened. I started just crying like a baby, and later I understand that was the Holy Spirit. He touched me and he changed me. He became my friend. After that life, I know the life in the refugee camp was hard, but the way I see my life, my children's life, is different. It changed me just to say it's okay, to pass. And after that, just God taught me how to pray, how to read the word, how to listen his voice. I became just a friend of the Holy Spirit. Jesus was close. Just I understand. I felt it. Just he was with me all the time.
Well, he was with both of you, leading you and guiding you, I guess. So you come, and I guess that's why there's no answers. One day you just are out of jail, like Jesus told you, I'll get you out. It happened. And how long did it take you to move to the United States? I mean, the transition, just a few days or months?
Just a month, 1 month. I stayed for a month there. And then I got a US visa and came and joined the family, my family.
So from, and so Mulu, were you already, when did you create your Life Center Ethiopia organization? Because is this something that you started working, Mulu, when you arrived here in the United States, or is it something that you both founded?
After Tamrat came to the US, he came end of 2008, means almost 2009. And I went home to visit my mom after 12 years. I was not ready to go home, to go to Ethiopia. It took me years. But at that time I went. But when I went there, I saw the poverty, the street boys and moms on the street with their kids begging food. That was tough for me. When I was young, I was a freedom fighter with my friends to bring democracy, to change that nation, to help my people. And after many years, when I went back, myself passed through difficulties, many challenges. A single mom, becoming a refugee, coming to the US, working at gas station to raise my kids as a single mom, and going back as eye-opening again. I said, okay, it's me. That mom's me. That mom begging money, a poor mom, that's Mulu. That's Mulu. Those children running around without a family, without a father on the street. That's my kids, really. God puts that energy in my heart. And when I see the kids on the streets, I remember my kids growing up without their daddy, without their God's presence, without their dad's presence. And that's the first time it came to my heart. And when I come back home, we discussed and we prayed about it with Tamrat, and we agreed. And I went back. We established it in 2013.
So in 2013, you established the Life Center Ethiopia.org.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's 33. It says that there's 33% of children in Ethiopia are missing one or two dads or both parents. And I believe, Tamrat, you told me that from your last numbers, there's still 5 million orphan children alone in Ethiopia. And because of all the wars and famine and disease, there's a lot of widows. I think the life expectancy of an adult does not even reach 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's the average. So, Mulu, actually, Tamrat, have you aspired? I mean, you have become in the last few years an international speaker. You've gone around. You're still working to serve your country. Have you thought of going back to your political inklings and try to be again perhaps a leader of Ethiopia?
I always wanted to help the Ethiopian people in Ethiopia. In fact, even after I came here, first time I went there is in 2013. Got back. Of course, by then, the president who put me to jail, who was my friend, was already died at the hospital. And another prime minister was there. And I asked him to help, and I wanted always, even after that. Then in 2018, a government change happened in Ethiopia right before COVID. And then also me and many others wanted to help the government and also the people in different ways. But things were not possible to do that. But I always think of helping in different ways. For example, in training leaders there, sharing my experience, training young leaders, sharing our experiences in things like that, other than Life Center. So I also speak, as you said, in different countries worldwide, and I give training, leadership training. So that's the way I see about helping the people and helping the government there. But things are not conducive. The environment is not conducive. The government is not ready for other people, especially for those who were in politics before, to render their assistance, their help in different ways. It's not that conducive, the general situation. So I'm praying and wishing that nation, becomes peaceful and progress and development would be there. Freedom for the people would be there. That's my all-time thing.
Can you name a few things that you would like to see the change, political, social, economic change in your country? What are like the 5 top things that you would choose that you think it's pressing right now in Ethiopia?
The first and the foremost thing is peace. Peace has to reign in the country. There is no peace now. There are, in 2021, there was a devastating war in the country, the federal government against one state. And more than 1 million people died, according to the UN and other international community numbers. And many things happened. War crimes happened according to United Nations and United States government. Ethnic cleansing happened and things like that. In fact, things worse than Rwanda genocide happened. And then after that, there is a still war in one of other states called Amhara states. There has been, in the last 6 years since the new government came, there has been war in the state called Oromia. There is starvation, there is drought. Cost of living is high. Inflation is in more than 20s, maybe in the 30s%. People are in a very dire situation. And the main reason is the absence of peace, lack of peace. So the very first thing for the people to come must be peace. And I wish the government and all other armed forces go to negotiation and, to the table. And I also wish the international community to pressure this kind of thing so that peace would come, negotiation would come, dialogue would come. So through national dialogue, through negotiation, things would be possible. That's the first thing. And that's the most important thing now. In fact, every other things like democracy, freedom of speech, and progress and development and industrialization and things like that has become luxury.
Yeah.
Is the most important thing.
Right.
And
you have been doing that in a small way through your Life Center organization. You've been able to empower women, widows, with microloans and children who have even gone to college. Would you tell us a little bit about that? You have so many stories and very successful stories. Tell us a little bit about your Life Center organization.
Thank you. As you said, we are trying to transform the life of the widows at Life Center. We train them a lot to change the mentality, the poverty mentality. I tell them we are not poor by nature. Ethiopia is a rich country. And everybody, they are smart. The widows are smart. They can do anything. And we train them, we give them some amount of money to start up their business. The businesses are just amazing businesses. It's small, but it's growing. Every widow is doing a great job. And they have peace. At Life Center, our motto is sharing love. We share love. And that's practical, really. At the center, the staff, that's what they are doing. They try to love, to encourage the widow. They try to love the orphan, to transform, to train the orphan. And every orphan in our center, they know that they are loved, they are special. We don't open the Bible, we don't preach, that's not allowed, but we are showing God's love practically. The orphans know that we love them, we respect them, we care for them. They are good citizens. They are an amazing citizens. I tell them they are a hope of Ethiopia. They are hope. The widows, they have the confidence because they are proven for themselves. They can do anything. They change their life, not only theirs, even in the community, they are respected because they are doing something beautiful. They start business, they are accomplished, they are getting income, they are raising their children. We help them, they help us. We are doing together. We are building a transformed community in the neighborhood. God put us some amount, some member of community. We don't do everything for everything. We have a small community, but we are doing it with love, and with respect. We saw the children from the poverty become young, good students. We saw when they go to colleges and graduated from college, some of them, they started their own business. That's a miracle. That's God's hand. He is leading us. He gave us the opportunity to serve our people again, to serve God, to show God who really is, because He is love. And Life Center is doing amazing job in Ethiopia, and that's because of the Lord, really, because of our friends all over the world. They are helping us, standing with us to do this amazing job in Ethiopia through Life Center.
So how does it work, Mulu? You have a widow aspiring to do a little business. I know you have a beautiful story of a young woman at 21. She's doing soaps and selling it, and your center has been recognized. She has been recognized. She has her own brand. How do these microloans work?
The microloans, the main spice is training. We train them. How can they start business? How can they save money? How can they grow a small business? The training does amazing job. After that, the social worker, our staff, they help them through their journey. They go to their shopping, they coach them, starting the project. If she wants to sell coffee, Ethiopians, we drink a lot of coffee all day. If a lady wants to sell a coffee, they train them. How you do coffee? How can you be profitable? The staff and the widows work together. There is loan, there is training, there is follow-up, coaching, prayer, everything. There is power in it. There is power. There is love. There is a relationship. And because of that, the widows are happy to work with the social worker, and training and loan and other things, coaching, the counseling, everything. It goes together.
We encourage them. We encourage them to bring, after the training, basic training, we encourage them to bring their own projects. We don't impose on them. Rather, they bring what they think they can do, and we fund that. We give them loan. They will pay back in 2 years' time, and they start that way. That's the microfinance. And then through time, as Mulu said, of course, there is continuous training, continuous counseling, coaching, and mentoring throughout. Because we believe it's not about the money. It's not about giving the money only. That's just one thing. That's just one element. But the main element is transforming their minds, transforming their perspective, so that they would come out of the dependency syndrome and become confident and self-sufficient. That's the goal. And for that, training and coaching and counseling is the main thing to do. That's how. And 99% of them are successful. In fact, many of them even come back and ask us even more money. They pay back and they ask for more money to diversify their business, to expand their business, and to go to new things to do. So they are very successful. We have now we have had 3 places, 3 centers. Now we started a 4th center. 2 are in the capital, and one is in the northern part. The other one is in the southern part of the country. The demand is high, very, very high. And especially after the war and the things that I told you earlier, many people are asking us, Life Center, to come to their areas and start centers, open centers. So the demand is very high. We have we have trained more than 300 children and about 400, close to 400 women until now. As I said, 99% successful. And we are now in a kind of a strain in a way, because of, on the one hand, we want to grow and there is a demand and we have experience now. Our experience curve is high now. We have amazing staff and so on. But on the other hand, we have a shortage of resource, financial resource mainly. You know, to get staff, more staff, to accept more women, to train, to accept more children. That is a tension now with regard to Life Center. And Life Center is recognized by many in Ethiopia as a model of doing this thing, because our model is a little bit different. It's not like building an orphanage and bring the children there in one place. We don't believe in that. We believe that is harmful for the children. So our model is called home-based, where we put the children with families and help both the family, the woman and the children. So it's now recognized as a model. It's awarded many awards several years by the local government, by the central government, and so on. But still, as I said, our main key thing now, right at this time, is that tension I told you between growth and resource.
Right. Now, what's the interest? I know I asked you this. Microloans, you lend. Do you charge an interest to these women?
There's no interest. It's free. It's free.
It's free of interest.
Free of interest.
They only pay back what they take.
How many women and children have successfully? Can you put a number on your center? How many have come through the years and succeeded?
Yes. On the microloan side, we helped more than 500 widows. Right now, there are 400 active businesses, single, what do you call small businesses. Children, we have 270 children right now that we help every month. We help them through sponsorship. The center is responsible to distribute the money that the sponsors are sending. We give training. We help them with the schooling. After school, there's a tutorial class. We hire teachers to help them because there's no one in their house, in their family, to help them with their school. There are a lot of trainings, depending with their age. We train them a lot. As a parent, we care for these children. We try to figure it out about their gifts. We guide them, we coach them, and they're amazing kids. Yeah, it's a lot, but we want to do more. We want to help more orphans and more widows.
Of course. Do you travel there often? Do you go back to Ethiopia?
I travel.
You do. How about Tamrat?
My last trip was right before COVID. After that, I didn't travel there, but I am looking forward to go this year.
Good. So if anybody wants to learn more about you and how they can help for all those philanthropists out there, the website is www.lifecenterethiopia.org.
Yes.
All right.
That is a website. They can go to the website and see. And we have newsletters that we
Send out.
we send out
Every 2 weeks. Yes.
every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
If they send us their emails, we can send them, update them. The other thing is we also send groups of people to Ethiopia to see Life Center, to visit the children and the women, to visit what we are doing. At least once a year, sometimes twice a year, group from America goes and pay visit there. So we do that. We have three organizations partnering with us, but we need more partners, more organizations, either non-profits or churches or even corporate businesses. Those who have the heart to help orphans and widows in that country, and owners of business corporations, they can partner with us. And of course, individuals too.
Well, we'll certainly put the website up, and I'll put it up so everybody can see it. It's a beautiful website with compelling stories. I enjoy the young lady who is doing soap, and then there's the other story of the other lady with her goats. So
Yes.
they're very resourceful businesses and wonderful stories. Tamrat, Mulu, besides Life Center, what are your last aspirations? What else is there life here in America for Tamrat and Mulu? What else? Goals, dreams. Would you want to go back, Mulu, back and live to your country? Is that something you wish to do?
I wish to. I was dreaming 3 years ago. I was hoping, okay, I want to go home and live there. Now, after going back, see the condition and the government, I said, it's not, not yet. not yet.
Yeah, we always want to go back and be there and do even more Life Center. But as I said earlier, things are not conducive. But we hope things will be better. Until then, what I'm doing here is I speak. I still speak, engaged in speakings. I engage in training business leaders for leadership in different states here. And in fact, very soon, I will also travel to Africa for the same thing to do in other African countries, and if possible, also in Ethiopia.
Good. Well,
that's what we are doing.
Good. It sounds like you have a busy itinerary coming up and lots of aspirations. So thank you very much again, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Tamrat Layne. And Mulu, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pronounce your last name. I'm intimidated. But I thank you very much for your time. And I hope that we meet again. And hopefully someday I would love to go and visit your wonderful centers in Ethiopia, and hopefully maybe in other places of Africa, because it is a beautiful, rich country. And Ethiopia, I know, is one of the most, it's known through antiquity, may I say. Yes. And it has lots of symbols and relics and history, rich history. So I hope to visit that country someday. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We are very much pleased, to be here and talk about our story and other things about Ethiopia. And we also encourage you to go to Ethiopia and make a group of your own and visit us.
We shall. I'll take you up on that one. So be careful.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.